So, hello everyone. This is Trevor Boland here. I am co-hosted by the wonderful, the dynamic, the exciting Lorraine Gallagher from Ahead.
Hello, everybody.
Hi everyone. So, everyone, if you've just popped in, thank you very much. I can see 26 people have just come online. So, it's gone up to 31. Okay, well, you are very welcome. So, we're just going to give people just a few. I want to say minutes, but let's just give them a minute because the numbers are going up. So we're up to 50 people now. So thank you very much for attending. Sit down, make yourself feel comfortable. I've got green tea with me. Lorraine has probably something too, I imagine. But so just in case, and we're just giving you a heads up, we're having a few little Wi-Fi issues. So our sound might go just a little bit from time to time. So just bear with us. But we will just get set up very, very soon. So just to remind you that right now, feel free to use the chat box. So if you click on the chat button just down at the end, you should see on the right-hand side a chat button. So I'm going to type a message. So if this is your first Zoom meeting, which it probably isn't because we are all living on Zoom, it's very easy to use the chat box. So feel free to type in a message, introduce yourself, tell us where you're from, and Lorraine is going to keep an eye on the chat box. Oh, hello, Tara from Donegal. Tara, have you been to some of the Ahead sessions already? Some of the webinars? We have a few people from
Name looks
Donegal.
familiar.
It looks familiar. Yeah. Okay, Margaret from Limerick. Good to meet you, Margaret. Yes, they've been. Oh, thank you very much, Tara. You're very, very kind. So we are up to 64. So I think, hi, Katie, Lisa, oh, Rebecca. God, you're all coming in. Look at us. God, we're all over the country. So right now, I'm going to share my screen. So there's a very short presentation. Okay, so the first slide is welcome to the webinar. So thank you very much. If you are new to accessibility, this is the webinar for you. So it's a very light touch introduction to what accessibility is in a Word document. And hopefully that sheds light on how easy just a few accessibility considerations can make life just a little bit rosier for people who not only have disabilities, but who also just don't have disabilities too. But for the purpose of Ahead, we're just going to focus on disabilities. So, as I said, my name is Trevor Boland. So I'm the Digital and E-Learning Officer here in Ahead. So I just started a few months ago. And I'll let Lorraine introduce herself.
Hi, so some of you I know already. I am the Information Training Officer, and so I'm the person who, when you ring up with a problem or you want to know something, it's usually me that you're talking to. I'm in Ahead a lot more years than Trevor, but so hopefully today will be very informative. And if we're not able to answer all your questions today, we will endeavour to get back to you. But hopefully, you will enjoy the session today. It's quite a short session, but it's very interactive. So hopefully, you'll enjoy being here and not out in the sunshine.
Yeah, too much vitamin D. We don't recommend it. So I've also added my Twitter handle and Lorraine's Twitter handle as well. So like Lorraine was saying, if there's a few things that we haven't touched on, because I'm sure people are going to have maybe a question in mind already, or questions are going to arise, you can tweet us or email us as well. So that's okay. So from the webinars that have happened already over the last 7 weeks, we've had many questions and follow-up questions by email or Twitter. Okay, so I'm going to ask a question, but I'm going to try and do it with a poll. So I think this might be my first time using poll. So can you see that on, okay, I'm going to launch it. Can you see that on the screen, Lorraine?
Yeah, I can see it, yeah.
So just a simple question about kind of gauging people's level regarding accessibility. So if you're new to it, feel free to just click on the none at all if you have a little bit or just some awareness of it, because I think people are working in different environments where they might have a bit of knowledge about Word and a little bit of accessibility awareness about maybe putting information online on a website, even PowerPoint as well seems to be a common place where people might have experienced a little bit of accessibility awareness. Okay, so none at all. 29%. 60, you 16, you're my favorite people in the room. Also like the other people too, so please stay. So I have some, that's great, yeah. So hopefully we can just add a few more tricks to your accessibility magician's hat. And okay, 4 people are very aware. Okay, well, thanks for, well, actually, those 4, you might be kind of even sharing a few insights that we're not going to touch off in this session. So, I mean, that would be kind of nice just to hear other voices about how they maybe do things in documents and other tools too. So I'm going to end polling. Great. I'm just going to shut that off. So I'm going to go to the next slide. So a little bit of my background is a tiny bit in usability testing, because for one project where I worked with a student, we made an online education resource. So while I was kind of getting into this kind of work, collaborating with students, creating online resources with them and kind of getting their feedback about how they engage with written material, I found this guy, Steve Krug, and he has this great quote that I kind of reference a little bit now in my work. So the one argument for accessibility that doesn't get made nearly often enough is how extraordinarily better it makes some people's lives. How many opportunities do we have to dramatically improve people's lives just by doing our job a little better? And I think that struck me because that's one of the goals we're talking about. So we all know Word, we all have lived with Word documents for a long time, maybe too much experience reading them as well as writing them. So what I like about showing a few basic accessibility tricks with Word is that we've already got this awareness of Word. So really what we're doing is that we're kind of just exploring just Word a little bit deeper in a new way that's going to, make life better for either students with disabilities, staff with disabilities, or even employers with disabilities as well, or even their staff with disabilities. So just these little considerations can help those kind of Word documents, whether they're reports. Yeah, sorry, you were going to say something, Lorraine?
To add to what Trevor's saying, it's not only about the students with disabilities. Actually, this actually suits everybody in terms of actually accessing documents. So you could have people whose, second language is English or whatever. So there's loads of different reasons why it makes sense to make them accessible. And once you do it a few times, you kind of get used to it, and it becomes just, that's what I do in terms of my documents. So
yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, so that's great. So the next slide is just a little bit of awareness to put this in context about the accessibility directive that's come online. So I was just talking to Lorraine about this beforehand. So there is a drive to make information accessible that's online, because one of the ways you might be creating Word documents is because you're going to post them online because they have information for whoever your end user is. So it's just to be aware that accessibility not only is useful for everyone, but also is becoming kind of an EU recognized initiative as well to improve life, like for all types of people. So I've already, I'm going to share the PowerPoint with you. If you go to that web page where you would have registered for this session, I think the PowerPoint is already there. I just put it up beforehand, and so you can feel free to download it. And then there's a link as well for more information to that directive within it as well. Okay. So what is ahead of us? I just thought I'd throw in the word ahead in the heading just for a little giggle, but yeah, I know. So we're going to touch a little bit off different types of headings, how to use them, and how the different headings nest within each other. So I'll explain that by showing you in just a little while. So good and bad font styles. I have a feeling lots of people are kind of already aware of this. So I've picked some really awful font styles just to make a point in a little while. I think Lorraine wrote this point, the beauty of bullet points. So I have to totally agree with her. There's one document that stands out for me that I would have seen in an education place not so long ago, and it was like photocopying instructions for students, and it was quite text heavy, and a student brought my attention to it because she again saw the beauty of bullet points to kind of address this kind of text heavy issue of just printing off information to a printer. So it was that was an example that stands out in my mind. Using color contrast. So there's simple ways of using color contrast, and there's also a few nice tools that help you figure out what's the best contrast as well. So you're not alone in Word while you're trying to figure this out. What is alternative text? That seems to be a common kind of issue that I certainly see in Word documents. So we're going to kind of explore images and how to add alternative text to an image. So that means for people who might have a visual impairment or are blind, that they can then interact with these images and know what they are. So it's quite easy. So to do. So how to easily create a contents page, that might be something that people are already aware of, but we're just going to show you anyway, just in case there's a number of people who don't know how to do that. And again, just kind of highlight how it's useful, again, just from the end user point of view. Adding hyperlinks to a document is simple. Something we all do, but there are kind of better ways of adding hyperlinks that we'll just address. And then the last thing is the accessibility checker, which is great and it's fantastic. It's always available to use in your Word document and has lots of positive advice to give you about keeping you on track with accessibility. Okay, I think that was it. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to go to my Word document. Okay, Lorraine, can you see that?
I can see that, yeah.
Great, okay, so I'm just going to increase it. So if anybody in the chat box is having an issue just seeing the size of the font, feel free just to communicate that within the chat box and Lorraine will kind of see it. Okay, so here we have a Word document. So we see there's lots of information in it. It looks like a mess. So one of the things I really like about a Word document is that, you know, you can take that information and you can style it in a way that's appealing for you. So no matter what the Word document is, yeah, you can apply your own styles. So for example, the first thing I love doing, I have a shortcut key that I adore and it's Control A. So if I click Control A, it selects all the text, so I don't have to do that drag and scroll all the way down to the document. So Control and A just selects all the text. So what that means now is that I can choose my favorite type of text because I think it's the easiest to read, and that's Century Gothic. So I can choose Century Gothic, and I can see already that there's a few bits that are still difficult to read, like here, for example. The text is aligned to what I would consider the wrong-hand side. So I'm a Western reader, so I like to read from left to right. So I would prefer the text to be aligned differently. So I'm going to use my Control A again, and I am going to, do you know what, let's size it all, and then align it all to the left-hand side. Okay, so now I know all the fonts. I don't even have to see the other pages because I just know everything is lined now to the left-hand side. So for the sake of argument, I will go to the first line because it looks like the heading of the document. Accessibility Webinar 4, Introduction to Making a Word Document Accessible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select that because I already know this is the heading because I put it together. So in my home page, you can see there's this rather peculiar feature. So some people may have used this already, some people may have not. So this I'm going to mark as heading 1. So this is my top heading because this is the name of what's in the entire document. Okay, so if I go to the next line, simple skills to apply to a document that can make life easier for everyone. Okay, so because I wrote this, I kind of knew this is a subheading. So for the sake of making my life easy, I am going to call that heading 2. So that's my subheading. And then the next line, does accessibility have anything to do with UDL, Universal Design for Learning? Well, do you know what? I'm sure the answer may be obvious to lots of people. So because I already know I'm starting with my subheadings, that's already going to be heading 3. Okay, so what have we got already? We've got heading 1, heading 2, and then heading 3. So we're already adding like a hierarchy here to the document of how information is going to be laid out. And we're going to follow with this rule throughout, because we're going to approach this document in a logical manner, where we're going to add headings to sections in a way that will make my life easier about how I'm going to understand and engage with this document. Okay, so what I might do, will I modify the headings one? Let's do it here.
Yeah.
Yeah, go first. So even though I've marked this at headings one, let's kind of say, let's suppose I'm someone who loves my font styles a lot, which I do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to further modify this headings one, because I did choose a type of font, Century Gothic, and as we can see now, that style has kind of changed into Calibri Light, because there's a presetting within each of these. So I'm going to alter the presetting of these. So I'm going to right click over my heading one. I'm going to modify, sorry, I'll just do that again because I think I did it kind of quickly. So that's my heading one. I'm going to right click over the heading one. I'm going to click modify, and this window appears. And actually, you've loads of different options about spacing and size of fonts, but just for now, I'm just going to tweak my font style. Okay, and I could make it bold, italic, underline. I could change the color. I'll change the color to black. Okay, and I'm just going to click that, automatically update. So I click OK. So we can see it has changed and the font style has changed as well as the color. Okay, so here it was my headings 2. So if I right click on my headings 2 and I click on modify, again, I'm just going to quickly change that to Century Gothic. Let's go with black text again. Okay, and there we go. So we've already altered that. And as we remember, this was headings 3, modify. I feel like I'm doing a paint show. I feel like I should be painting with raw sienna paint. Doing the, yeah. So Century Gothic, black. Okay, so as you can see, a bit of repetition, but that's okay. Okay, so here we go. That is cool. Okay, so in here now we see, does accessibility have anything to do with UDL, Universal Design? So I've got a little paragraph about this. So I've seen a few documents in the past before where blocks of text are in all caps. So we'll touch a little bit off all caps in a while, but some people, including myself, find it very difficult to read all caps because for me, what I kind of see is a sameness about all the letters. They're all the same height. The shapes are kind of look more similar when they're on block caps. So what I'm going to do is I will go up here to this change case rather than retype it and modify it manually. So if I go here, I can see I've got a number of different options, but I want to choose sentence case. And if I do that, that automatically converts it to my conventional sentence kind of structure that I recognize. Okay, so that saves me manually doing that, which is great. So this paragraph is normal text. So again, if I click normal text, it will click it to the default, what's not called normal text. For this, I might leave it at this font style, which is Calibri body, just to kind of differentiate it from Century Gothic, just to make life easy. There's a tip here that I put in because I'm going to share the document at the end with you as a downloadable document. So you can see that yourselves then. And because I've written the tip specifically in the document as well, so you can take that away with you afterwards. Okay, so heading structure in a Word document. Okay, so I'm going to give that a heading style. So Lorraine, guess what heading style I'm going to use? Okay. Heading style 3, yeah, that's okay. So that's great. So I've clicked on heading style 3. So because I modified it and I use Century Gothic, it's already there. It's already changed. So there we go. Section headings reveal how information is organized and makes the document easier to scan. Properly marking up section headings with styles also improves navigation for screen reader users. So when we talk about screen reader users, I suppose we're talking about. Sorry, what, Lorraine? Would you say something?
Yeah, no, just about the headings, right? It
Yeah.
depends on how you nest them. So, for example, if I was doing the journal online, for main bodies of text where I divide them, I might divide stuff up by heading 2, and then the subheadings within paragraphs to heading 3. So it depends on how you want to nest them. And you
Okay.
see that more when you actually do your navigation pane. You can see how the nesting works.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
it's
yeah,
easy
yeah.
to change.
Because, and actually, that's a good point because at the end, I'm going to make the contents page, and that's when the headings will become apparent. You'll get kind of see the logic then behind it. Um, So here we just kind of explain further about the use of headings. So best practices, select the desired heading text and choose an appropriate heading style. So H1, heading 1, H2, heading 2, and so on from the styles menu, which we've already looked at. Make sure the headings are nested in a logical order. So H1, H2, and then as we use H3. So make sure H2 does not come before H1. I know that sounds obvious, but like it's amazing how when if you're doing a long document, you can kind of slightly mix up your headings. So it's best to kind of start logical and keep going as you mean to. So this one, go to the Home tab and click on the appropriate heading styles. So I've just been very nice and written instructions about how to use those heading styles. So that's all just regular text. I'm going to save as I go. So design is perceivable and predictable. What the hell do I mean by that? Well, it looks like it's a heading. So that's going to be heading 3. So I've already modified it. So it's in that layout. So through good design, you can reduce the amount of effort it takes your readers to process the information in a document, allowing them to focus on the meaning conveyed by the content rather than its presentation. So I suppose what we're kind of saying there is just clean, predictable design in a document is helping your end user. Okay, so that's just normal text. Look at that, we're flying it. We've got one page done already and it's like 1452. Okay, so here we have another section. So in this section, we're concentrating a little bit more on kind of color and layout. So we're just making a number of recommendations. So the first one is ensure enough. Can't really see that, and it's getting a bit higgledy-piggledy. Lorraine, would I be really bold if I tried using the accessibility checker here? Are you going to be mad at me?
Yeah, try that and see what happens actually, yeah.
Let's go for it. Let's go for it. So, wait a second. Come on. Yeah. So I go to the review tab. I click accessibility checker. Just for kicks and giggles, let's have a look at what happens. So, okay, there's something about missing alternative text. We will address that in a little while. But here we have something about hard to read text contrast. So the nice thing about the accessibility checker is that it's even going to tell me where this issue is. So if I click on the contrast, strangely enough, it highlights this area. So there's gray text with a gray background. So that's useful in terms of letting me know that I should go back to the Home tab and use black text. Oh, and the gray background is fine. And here there's an issue. Oh, yes, the colors are a little bit earthy looking. So, do you know
Very hard
what?
to read that.
It is a little bit. Actually, if I just change it to white, is it going to like that? No, still doesn't like that. Okay. So,
What if you bold it?
bold, bold the text.
Yeah, and see
Oh, okay.
is it more
Doesn't like it. Oh, it's giving me a number of recommendations. Font color, highlight color. Let's go with that. It's, oh yeah, no, it likes that. Okay. So there's more information about color contrast in this link here that I've added. So there it is more of a science to it. We will go that maybe in a future section, but right now we're just relying on the accessibility checker to tell us what's working and what's not working. So anyway, it likes these. So those type of blues and yellows, lighter tones with black text works well, and those kind of darker colors against white font works really good. So I added those two examples just so you could see the white text and the black text, and just kind of see that it doesn't matter what color the font color or what color the font is, once the backgrounds work appropriately with the color font. So
And if you actually, can I just add, Trevor, sorry, just to add
yeah.
to it, if you want to, say, highlight a piece of text within a paragraph, you could use a text box and have the text box in a different color with, if the font is white, that you need to bold the font so that it's thicker and more readable
Oh.
against a dark background. So that might be a good way. Might be a good way to highlight text, is just to make a text box, and it also serves the purpose of highlighting something and breaking up the body of the text. So the layout, breaking up the layout as well can be
Oh, I
good.
see. Okay. Yeah, that's a nice one. Okay, so choosing a sans serif font, one without extra ornamentation for your body text. So sans serif font is like the one we're looking at right now. It's a Century Gothic. It's quite geometric. It's quite minimal in terms of font style. And so there's a large number of sans serif font styles, which you probably use yourself in your everyday work. So Calibri is one, Times Roman isn't, Arial is, and I see I've got kind of a bit of a mishmash of different styles there. But basically, the more cleaner, streamlined the font is, the more of a sans serif font it is, and therefore the more easier to read it is as well. So you can't go wrong with that. Use of left alignment rather than fully justified. So that was something I addressed at the start. So I did left alignment using this rather than center or other types of alignment. Oh, or that one. That one doesn't look too bad
Yeah,
there.
just
Yeah.
add to that actually as well. If you use, say, it's like a big paragraph, and you use center, rather than centered, rather than justified left or right, you get these rivers of white that go through the text, and that's what makes it
Oh,
distracting. So it's not so much easy to say in two sentences. You want to have like a paragraph of text, but that's why it's better to left justify.
yeah, and actually, there's a good point with that as well. There's a site issue called a scotopic sensitivity, which means that sometimes though that contrast between the black text and the white space creates this kind of rippling kind of effect, and the scotopic sensitivities can be apparent in different ways. So I have one where it means that I kind of see this shadow moving slowly behind the text, while for other people they see the sentences kind of warping and kind of moving more fluidly. So it can be something that's quite common. I think the UK are quite good. I think they'll even color tint your glasses. You can be screened, for example, for scotopic sensitivity, and sometimes you might get a color recommendation made. So it could be, for me, it's blue. There's a specific tone of blue that I use. For other people, it might be a rose color or a beige color or a green. So through the testing, you figure that out. Okay.
But it's quite common, yeah, just to add, Trevor, as well, it's
Yeah.
quite common. People with dyslexia often say that they have
Oh, yeah.
that as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So avoid italics, yeah, because they're a bit slanted. It looks a bit strange. And underline for emphasis. So I think myself and Lorraine, we were just talking about this beforehand. Yeah, it's good to avoid the underline because it looks like a hyperlink. So it's not a good way to go. So using bold seems to be a good alternative if you need to emphasize something. Avoid all caps, as this can be read as shouting, and it is more challenging to read. And actually, I didn't realize this until I worked in primary schools, where there's something called sight vocabulary, which means that one of the ways we recognize words is by the shape of the word. So before we even kind of individually see the letters to make up the word, we might instantly recognize the word. So like read for me isn't a word that I need to like explain in my brain, well, how does READ make, a sound in English? So my brain's already telling me, like, I recognize the shape of that word and it's read, so I just say the word read. So that sight vocabulary is important. And when you take that sight vocabulary away by using the caps, the all caps, that can slow down then the reading process, because it takes away that sight vocabulary kind of strategy, really, we would have learned as kids, or whenever you
Really
started learning how to read.
helpful.
Yeah. Look at us kind of share. I don't think we've ever had a chat about all these kind of things together. It's amazing that we're having the chat here. Yeah,
Yeah,
I know. Things that,
interesting.
see, this is what happens when we don't have an office anymore. We learn in live webinars where we're supposed to be concentrating on the attendees. Um, So avoid using the space bar repeatedly and use the tab button instead. Just from working on Word documents myself, I would have noticed this seems to be a recurring kind of issue, especially even with information I would have seen online. Documents that were made available online literally had no tabbings and used spaces all throughout. And again, just thinking of those, whether they're staff or students with, kind of software like JAWS or NVDA that would read out screens to them. So if they're blind and they have to rely on that kind of software, reading spaces is very frustrating, because it will slowly get through those spaces. While if you click tab, it'll make wider spaces and it can get through the blank spaces faster. So
Page break, page break as well.
page break as well. Yeah, that's a good one as well. Yeah. Um, So adding page numbers as well, go to the insert and then page number. So we'll do that now. Because again, it may sound, some of these are sounding really simple, but it's amazing when you actually start going through documents yourself, you'll start to notice when they don't have a page number, and then how, like, for someone who does print out the document or is looking at the document online, it just makes life just a little bit trickier, because if they close down the tab, they've got to go back and find out which page it was, from trying to figure out where that information was in the entire document, because there wasn't a page number to indicate where. So add page numbers, go to insert. Okay, Trevor, just go to insert. Go to insert, go to page number. I will do, yeah, bottom corner. Why not? Yay, closure. Okay. So we're flying it now. Recommendations. Oh, did I use my proper headings there? I didn't. Oh, Trevor, that's bold. Okay, and I didn't call that normal. Oh no. Oh no, sorry. Isn't there a bulleted one? Where
There
is
is
it?
a bullet
There's list.
list. Yeah.
Oh, God, I don't like that. Okay. Is there a better one? Okay. I'm going to leave it as list for now. I'm going to come back to you. Okay. So make meaningful links. Okay, well, that definitely sounds like a heading. So Trevor, let's get back on track and start marking these. Okay. That looks like normal text. So what am I saying about making meaningful text? Screen reader users. So again, those types of people who might use screen readers that can use a shortcut to bring up a list of links in a document. Links need to be unique and descriptive for them. So by descriptive, we mean like an explainer about where the link is going to bring them to, and make sense as they are accessed as a list without the surrounding text for content. So recommendation, instead of saying something like click here or learn more, which again, I mean, I've seen it everywhere. I think I've been guilty of it myself a few times. Select meaningful text, text that is descriptive and unique, and make that text the link. So again, here we've got a link that we might be familiar with. So if it's the case where, rather than just write this hyperlink, let's just copy it. And here we have a nice sentence that I've written already. Go to the head website by clicking here. I might change that. Go to the head website for more information about, let's say, universal design. for learning. Okay. Do you know what? Let's make all this the link. Here we do. We got that. Yeah. Oh, wait. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Ta-da! So much nicer. So much better. What do you think, Lorraine? Critics, you
I,
hate it. You
I
love
like it.
it. You love it.
I
Me
know.
too. Me too. Okay. So actually, not only does it look better, but it is more logical, and it is kind of a much better way of like screen readers reading the material. And also, as someone who wouldn't have a screen reader, who's just a regular kind of person like myself, at least I know there's a link there that's take me somewhere, and the information in this, wherever it is, has information about universal design for learning. So already it's helping me figure out like, is that a link I need to see right now? So I can be more strategic about what information I'm going to select on. Visit the Ahead website. Will I put it there? Yeah, why not? Yeah. So if you have questions at any time or questions are arising, feel free just to put it in the chat box. Because questions might be appearing, because some of this information might be already things that you've been doing in Word documents. I have a feeling a lot of people would have been using these headings because maybe they've written a thesis or a dissertation of a sort. So those heading structures could be used already, but they haven't thought about it in terms of accessibility.
There was just a question, just while you're on that. Somebody's just saying, can you do the hyperlink thingy again?
Do the
Sometimes that can be
hyperlinking.
difficult for people to. Yeah, just do that again for
Okay.
somebody.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we went to this lovely line that explains context on what we're going to see on this web page. So I select the text, I right click. So when I right click, I see something called link. So when I click link, I get this wonderful window appearing, and I've just copied and pasted. Remember this link here? And I click OK. Actually, that's a different link, is it?
And you place it in the file of text. Yeah.
Yep. And I can just go through it again here. So I select the text. Now I can see it's all highlighted. I just right click on my mouse, go down to link, because I'm going to link the text. Then in the address box, Control V.
So see the way there's a few different options here. See, we have existing page, a web page,
Oh, yeah.
paste in a document, create a new. So we just go. Yeah.
Pardon? Sorry, what was the last bit?
So, you know the way we have 4 different link to 4 different things.
Yeah.
So we're just selecting the top one for this.
We're selecting the top one, yeah, existing file. But if it was an email, for example, so lorraine.gallagher@ahead.ie, we could put that into a document and specify it as an email address. Or link other documents within your laptop too, if you want. Yeah. Okay. So is that okay? Oh, we've got something in the Q&A. Tara has asked something in Q&A.
Yeah. So when you're setting up the links, do you need to have the folders with the links set up and saved somewhere else? So that's if you have links within a document, you need to have the in the same folder. So if it's a link from somewhere else.
Yeah, so I suppose I'm thinking where I would have done that before. Like if there were folders, say online folders, where like I might reference in a document, a place to go online to find like a folder toward like a box folder or a Dropbox folder or something like that. Yeah, you can put that. But so Tara, I'm just wondering, do you mean folders within your laptop or folders to like folders in the cloud, whether it's like a Google folder, Dropbox, or Box folder?
So, for example, like say sound files, Trevor, right? So,
yeah.
say if you have on your PowerPoint, you've got a sound file on your PowerPoint. You need to have a
Oh,
sound file. I think that's what she's talking about, having a sound
yeah,
file and the presentation in the one folder so they recognize each other. Otherwise, if
yeah,
you share that, it's lost.
yeah, yeah. No, okay, yeah. No, Tara is saying,
Yeah, that seems to be the answer. Yeah, that's
okay, yeah. Then
yeah,
it would be, yeah. It's funny because there's a few different contexts for that. I mean, when I did a little bit of coding, we'd have to nest folders in a particular way to access information. So
yeah.
there's a few ways of looking at that, but I'm not sure. Tara, have we answered the question? I'm not sure. But if it is like a PowerPoint, we can actually do a PowerPoint webinar if there's a demand. At the end, we're going to be asking people, trying to gauge from the audience about where and what they would like to see in terms of accessibility, and then we're happy to try and deliver other accessibility webinars. So if, for example, you're more curious about that type of feature within PowerPoint, then we can look at that. I mean, sometimes a link can be broken. Oh, to prevent that from happening, you need to have the file saved. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I mean, files move if you're in that kind of way. Yeah. But I know what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah. If the folders are going to stay
And
in
then
the same
somebody,
place.
Dimple is saying that a webinar on PowerPoint, that would be really helpful. So that might be something that we can definitely, yeah. So I think a few people would like that actually. So that's something that we can certainly look
Okay.
at doing.
Yeah. That's fine. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So we'll just move on to the next section. So this is about the images. So images, and more images. So there's a little bit about images. So that is a heading 3. Oh, wait a second. Let me just make sure. Heading 3, heading 3. So I'm being just making sure I'm doing all this okay. Okay. So screen readers, yeah, there's a lot about screen readers, can describe an image to someone who is blind if a text, yeah, this is the importance of alternative text and how we need to provide them in Word documents, especially if documents are online. Because myself and Lorraine, we were just chatting about this beforehand, and it's like when you have Word documents that are available online, anyone could be downloading and opening them. So you don't know if a potential student or staff member or employee or whoever it is going to be downloading that document, and if they have a visual impairment of a sort where they will be using a piece of software. So it's a good habit to get into the alt tagging. So we'll go through that. So text alternatives can also make complex images easier to understand for the learners. Okay, which is completely true. So even when I read this line, I'm thinking there's so many examples of different types of images that we can see, whether graphs, charts, diagrams. I think I had to do an alt tag of a molecule being kind of broken down into its kind of components. And that was a really difficult one. That was a nice kind of chunky alt text that was written for that. So if people are teaching in a specific discipline, there might be kind of alt tags used to describe particular types of images within your discipline as well. But for this, we're just going to go through just 3 different types of alt tags, which then, and I've put a number of resources at the end, one of which is a really good one about alt tagging conventions for different types of images. So that might be useful too. Okay. Um, ba, 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 bum. So I'm just going to call that normal text. Best practices. After considering the purpose of the image and the context for its use, this is really important. The context in terms of alt tagging is so important because really the alt tagging is giving your end user clues as to what you want them to get from the image. So the more context you put on the alt text, the better it is for that end user to understand why you're providing a certain image. Okay, and we'll explain that a little bit. Provide a concise description that focuses on the information the image conveys. If the image is only used for decoration, mark it as decorative. Okay, and that's really easy to do, and we'll show you in a second. So if your authoring tool hasn't that option, or use decorative as the alternative text. So I think the good thing now is like most types of tools have that decorative option, but some don't, but that's okay. So we can go through that. So this is 3 types of images and what to consider when we use alt tagging. Okay, so that's heading 3. Oh yeah, can we use bullet points here? I put that in as a reminder to myself because I think I put in something. So decorative. So if you have a decorative image, indicate that it should be skipped by screen readers. Okay, so I think I give myself a bit of a clue as to this. If the next image is functional, included in a link, describe that destination or action. So basically, have you ever clicked on an image where the image itself is a link to somewhere? So we can show you that as well. And then the third type of image is called informative. Provide a concise description. So let's just in those. Oh, bullet points, they're so easy. So we're flying it now. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our accessibility checker because I think it highlighted a few issues with images. So if we go back, can you see that, Lorraine?
Yeah, I could just see the bottom of that page, the present page, where the little typewriter is.
Okay, and you can see the bit on the side, can you? The accessibility checker, where it has picture 1, picture 2, picture 4. Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so the accessibility can detect. So using the accessibility checker, go to the ribbon. Okay, God, it's been really nice. I've put loads of instructions in this for everyone. So go to the ribbon above. So this is your ribbon, and click on the tab called Review. So basically, I'm opening up the accessibility checker. So if you're new to using accessibility checker, it's a good way of kind of knowing, just repeatedly kind of going back there and keeping, or even throughout a document, have the accessibility checker open throughout the whole document rather than opening it over and over again. Okay, so the accessibility checker can detect most accessibility issues, but not all. Now, one of the things that's really good at checking is if there's alternative text. But it's not good at telling you the quality of the alternative text. So just be mindful that there are the accessibility checker, no matter how great it is, there's always a few kind of weaknesses with it. So you do have to manually go in and just double check what that alt tag is, that alternative text is to an image. So here we go. Sorry, I'm just doing this as I go along. So right click on the image and choose the edit alt text. Okay, so we're going to alt text. Are you with me, Lorraine? Are you excited?
Yeah.
I don't know why I like this. I love doing alt text. Okay, so
I'm just answering the question here. If somebody is using an earlier version of Word, but they have them in accessibility features. They're in really old versions, so it should have it in it.
Yeah, there's one subtle difference between a kind of an older version of Word than the newer version, and I think that's regarding how you mark something as decorative. But anyway, we'll get to that in a second. So I'm clicking on. So I've clicked on the first image. So I'm just going to right click it, and when you right click, so there's so much information. There's usual copy and cut that we've all used time and time and time again. But if you just explore it a little bit further, you'll actually see there's an alt text button there. So if you just click on that, you'll see that there is nothing there at all whatsoever to indicate to someone who's particularly blind or has visual impairment that they will not be able to distinguish the content of this image at all. So just for kicks and giggles, I'm going to click on this feature. If you have one of the newer versions of Word, there's an option that's relatively new called Generate a Description for Me. This can go terribly wrong sometimes, so let's just try it. A close-up of a sign, no. So sorry, Microsoft AI, that didn't work now. So what I'm going to call this is creating an accessible document webinar. Okay, so we don't need to say this is an image for creating a document accessible webinar, because the screen reader is already going to know that this is an image. So we just put down the content of this. Oh, will I say with a typewriter? Oh, with an image of a typewriter. Because Lorraine, you do like that typewriter
Yeah,
image. With
I really love that typewriter. If my child could see this, she'd be saying, "That thing mommy on the screen." You wouldn't know what a typewriter is.
with an illustration of a typewriter. Okay, okay. So we've already done the first one. So already we've seen that that image has disappeared from the accessibility checker list. So that's great. So now we can just click on picture 2. So I tried to choose an image that's purely decorative. So I really couldn't think of any kind of possible meaning. Well, unless maybe you're an art history student, you might put alt text on that if it was an alt history type of class, but it's not. For the purpose of this document, this is purely decorative. So I just have to tick this box and it's done. So it's just automatically now done as decorative. Well, this is the difference in the older Word documents. I think you might have to do a little bit more in terms of labeling that as decorative in the older versions. But anyway, and then picture 4 is an image that we're probably very familiar with, and that is the Ahead logo. So for this one, I'm going to take this Ahead hyperlink. I'm going to copy it, and we're going to not only alt tag it. So for this, we're just going to call it Ahead logo. So it's really useful if you alt tag an image from the get-go, from the very beginning, especially if it's an image you're going to use repeatedly, because I would have seen already in a number of even presentations of our presenters here for Ahead that they'd repeatedly use kind of logos. So if you just put alt tag on one of those images, you can copy and paste the images, and it takes the alt tag with it, so you can copy and paste your heart's delight. Okay, so I've put my alt tag Ahead logo there, and now if I right click this, I can add a link to the image should I desire. So I click link, and now we see in the address box, I'm just going to paste that hyperlink I had there, click OK, and now when I hover over the image, we should see that the image is not only alt tag texted, but it now has a hyperlink as well. So that can take them to a destination of wherever I feel like it. But for the purpose of this, it's Ahead. Okay, so are we okay so far? Is there any kind of questions arising?
Let me see. There is
so in the meantime,
just one in the chat. Word 2016 asked for the title and description. Titles are best script. Edit alt text and mark as directive aren't available. They are in Office 365, so that's good to know actually.
Oh, the sound just went a little bit there, Lorraine. Sorry, what you said at the start?
Trevor, yes.
Okay.
This is from Peter. Word 2016 asked for title and description, and he said that titles are best skipped. Edit alt text and mark as decorative aren't available.
Oh yeah. Then you just.
They are in Office 365, and that's in 2016. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, you just put in that you write the word decorative. Then if that decorative box isn't there where you can tick it, yeah, and that's fine.
Yeah.
That works equally well. Okay. Oh God, have I done all my headings? Oh yeah. Yeah.
Just a note on the time, Trevor. The time's getting on, so.
Okay. So we'll fly through this bit. So using alternative text resources. So these are the resources that I would have mentioned. So if you're in specific disciplines where you need more information about alt tagging, for those specific disciplines, I find those are really good. That diagram center one, as far as I remember, that's really good, and that had me really really engaged in different types of different alt tag formats and conventions. Um, okay, so we're almost there. So making a table of contents. So if we have adhered to a specific naming convention, our headings convention throughout the document, this is where it will pay off. So if we make a table of contents, that means that for people who can see the kind of the real content of the document, it won't go at the beginning. So if we go to the start of the document, because we need to go back to the start, and that's where we're going to place the table of contents at that page, in that very started section. We're going to go to the References tab, which is here. And in the References tab, we are going to go to a table of contents. Okay. Are we? References tab, table of contents. Oh, there we go. Sorry, is my word moving very slowly? It takes a few seconds for that.
Don't worry.
Okay. So I'm going to go back up to the top. Going to make a little bit of space for that. Table of contents. I can choose my table of contents. I think I'm going to pick the table of contents where the heading says table of contents. Okay. So I might just insert a page break, just so that, yeah. So the table of contents kind of sits on its own. That looks so pretty, if I may say so.
That looks brilliant.
Isn't it? Oh my God, gold star, please. Thank you. Okay, so we can already figure out, I mean, that is the heading 1, that's a heading 2, and then the rest then headings 3s, because they're kind of staying kind of aligned to each other. Okay, so now, for example, a student with dyslexia, now they can see which page has what information. So in terms of helping that, whether it's student or employee or whatever, with dyslexia, at least now they can navigate this document an awful lot easier, because there's page numbers, we know where to go. That makes my life a whole lot easier. And then just the last bit is in terms of a task, which I think is kind of interesting. So if you take the word document and you use it to go to this web page, I don't think you can see that, but can you see that page, Lorraine?
No, I can't see it.
Okay,
no,
that's okay. I'm going to go back to the word document. So you can still see the word document, is it? Lorraine?
Yeah, I can, yeah.
Okay, so what I will do, I'm going to go.
Yeah.
Okay, I think the audio is being a little bit bold, so it's kind of stuttering a little bit. But I'm going to go to the chat box, and I am going to insert a link that takes you to a web page that allows you to drag and drop a Word document into the web page, and then it will kind of create an audio file from that web page. So not only can you have a written document, but then you can have an audio document or an audio file then, and then with that audio file, you can then put that audio file on your phone, or play it on your computer or whatever you want. So I know a lot of students would have taken those audio files, and then they would have put it on their phone. So when they're driving in their cars, commuting in the old days when we could commute, they could then listen to the information as they were driving. So for a lot of mature students, they seem to engage in that. I can't seem to find my chat feature now. Can I see my chat? Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen because I'm at the end. Oh, there we go. So Here's the link to a really nice web page that I found. So Blackboard Ally have created this free facility where they're allowing people to take a Word document and drag and drop it into this website, and it will create a really good quality audio file. And what's really interesting about it is that when you listen to the audio file, it actually speaks out the headings as well. So it tells you headings one, what the
Very
heading is.
good. Yeah.
Yeah,
Excellent.
because then it helps you actually figure out, you can actually visualize the structure of the document as well as you're listening to it. So that's a really nice kind of tool. So because of time, I'm just going to bring up the last poll. So it's just a way of us kind of gauging, what people might be interested in regarding accessibility, because, potentially we're looking at September where we're going to have to put information online for students, our staff. If you're an educator, you potentially might have a student who's visually impaired. So would you be interested in knowing more about accessibility for this September to arm you with a few new skills? Employers as well, if we may have a few employers here. If that's the case, you may already have a staff member who's blind and you're trying to upskill yourself. And there might be other reasons that I can't think of. So I'm going to bring up the poll right now. It should be there. Poll 2. Launching polls. So can you see that, Lorraine? Lorraine?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
cool.
can see
Okay,
that. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
great. That's great. There's definitely a lag with the sound, isn't there? Um,
Yeah. Or it's my
so,
connection, I'd say.
no, well, it could be mine as well. Mine was a bit bold last week. So if you would like to see more accessibility sessions, please feel free. So if you need to see more of Word, we can go more in depth into it. I think one of the things was like, like maybe even more information, just kind of getting more into the meatier bits of accessibility in Word. And then PowerPoint as well. A lot of the information we would have seen today is transferable to PowerPoint. It's just kind of slightly kind of hidden in different areas, but that's fair enough. In terms of social media as well, alt tagging now is becoming quite common in whether it's Twitter or Facebook. They're the two I'm familiar with. So alt tagging and that can be quite common. So we might do a Twitter one at some stage. It would be quite short, but there's different conventions about hashtags as
Yeah. On,
well.
on the chat here, people are saying they would like that. So, yeah. People are saying they would like more on that.
Okay, that's great. So from what I can see, there seems to be a portion of PowerPoint. So do you know what? Let's
Yeah. So,
commit to it. Let's commit to it. We'll say in a few weeks' time, we're going to deliver a PowerPoint accessibility webinar, and then we will inform the people who have attended today, and we'll also look at a Word one as well. And I have a personal interest in the social media and accessibility within that as well. It's great, and I think we've had really nice people. I think Patricia McCarthy on Twitter has been advocating about alternative text as well. So she kind of has got me hooked on that in Twitter. So
yeah.
I would definitely avail of that. So I think for now, I'm going to stop the polling. I'm going to switch. Oh, I'll share the results. Sorry, just so you can see it. So can you see the results now?
I can see that. Yeah. Yeah. Very good.
Okay. Yeah,
So
so we
lots of
can.
people looking for PowerPoint.
PowerPoint, yeah, which I have to say is something really that I've kind of got my teeth into, like in the last 2 months. And yeah, once you're aware of it and you kind of equip yourself with the skills, you can kind of go quite quickly through it. Okay, so we'll be in touch, and for everyone who registered and attended today, we'll be emailing you potentially in a week or two, maybe once we've thought about what we're going to do. Thank you very much. What we're going to do in terms of follow-up accessibility kind of webinars as well. But feel free to tweet us, email us. That presentation is just above the link where you would have registered in the head web page. So
And just sorry, just for Tara, she said that the links for converting the document to the same document did not come up in the chat box. It is actually in the document, so you'll get it there.
yeah, you'll get it there. So that link, someone, I can see the link. So it's the ally.ac/COVID-19. Okay. That's okay. It might be just a little weird issue with it. Okay, that's
But
okay.
I think she's talking about the other link as well that we had in the document.
The other link we had in the document.
The same.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm gonna literally, as soon as we're finished this, I'm gonna put that Word document up on the Ed website in that section where you would have registered, and then you can download that document, and all those links that I would have shown you, they are right there. So I'll literally do that as soon as we're over. But I think that's it. Lorraine, I can't think of anything else. Like, if you have more questions, feel free to email or tweet us. In the meantime, thank you very much for attending. We will be in touch with you very shortly, in about a week or so, with information about follow-up accessibility workshops. So, Lorraine, thanks very much. This is your first time being my co-host. I know. Did I behave myself?
I
Was
was
I very
very
good?
thank you, everybody.
Okay. Just everyone, thanks very much.
Everybody was very informative. Yeah.
Brilliant. I learned
Thank
a lot.
you.
Yeah, that was cool. Okay, well, thank you very much, everyone. We'll see you again soon, and take care and enjoy that sun out there while it's still shining outside. Okay, thanks, Kathy. Thank you very much. Thank you. So many nice people at this webinar.
That was very good.
That was great. Okay, should I end the meeting?